I was reading agreements, and I'm realizing more and more that I thoroughly enjoy, have fun reading and creating agreements. So just like let that one land for all of you. When you have to read, a 15-page contract agreement, is that fun for you? When we need to ask for agreement formation, ask for compensation, is that fun for you? When you have to read a binding agreement or you need to ask for a form of agreement formation, is fun the leading feeling, the leading energy that like fills your heart? So like just drop it in the chat. How do you feel about signing and or creating an agreement? And how do you feel about asking for compensation and agreement formation? If it is fun for you, let's drop a yes. If any other emotion besides fun and like jovial shows up for you, let's type no. And let's like create that in the chat. As here's the truth. And Adam and I experienced it yesterday when we were stepping into a beautiful form of agreement formation. At the end, there was laughter. There were chuckles because everyone knew what was happening. And like there was an agreement formation being formed. And the truth of the matter is, when you step into agreement formation after step 1, step 2, step 3, and obviously agreement formation is step 4, let me tell you, it's fun and it's funny. It's funny. It's fun and it's funny because people love to buy when they know and they believe that it's going to rise their money, time, and magic. No one likes to be sold. Everyone loves to buy, especially if they believe it's going to rise their money, time, and magic. And listen, I promise you, it's fun. So for you, whether you said yes or no, let's like answer this one. Let's step into this energy on this fun Friday, as the goal of this conversation is to reframe our energies and our emotions around money. And Sean, talks about this a lot in his original coaching program. If you ever want to see a funny photo of Sean looking like the main character of Dawson's Creek, he will like blow me up if I ever post that photo. But if anyone else wants to post it, I am all game for it. It's a great 4-disc, coaching program, and it starts with your association to money. And as a student of the formula and someone who's been modeling Sean, I took the course, and it was amazing when you begin to talk about the self-mastery around the influence mastery dynamics of agreement formation. It is like quite hysterical, and I say this lovingly. Just everything that drops. And, for the record, I'm not claiming, my self-mastery never drops. My self-mastery drops all the time. It dropped this morning. So I'm not saying, I'm stepping in Zeus all the time. Yeah, sometimes it's like, you know what, Adam, you take this one. And like, we have fun with it. Point is though, and some of you on this call, when we've gotten to agreement formation, like Diane Higby, I think is one of my favorite agreement formations ever, as it was like really, really intense. And then I saw yesterday, she's like, I want to do a real raw open. And Diane, if you're here, I can't express the joy that brought me, because I know how against you were on that a couple months ago. And we like moved through agreement together. And you realized that is a beautiful tool for the rise of your money, time, and magic. So for everyone on this fun Friday, let's make agreement fun again. Because it's supposed to be. Like when you were in kindergarten and you want to like trade pencils or something and you wanted a cool eraser. Listen, I used to love negotiating that. Like, I'll trade you my pencil for that sticker. It was fun. It was amazing. And you felt like you won every time, even though a pencil is way more useful than a sticker. That's its own conversation. But once again, it depends. Point is, agreement formation was fun. So AG, I know you're out there. If you don't mind unmuting, without like jumping into details, how fun was yesterday's agreement formation, the chuckles at the end, and like what was present for you as you and I were arguing for fun?
Well, listen, I'll just jump in. So I will say this. I love the fact that we're talking about the formula in regard to this, because influence mastery, process mastery, and self-mastery, it's the connection of all three that allowed for that fun two to happen as well. So when you're in agreement formation, it was not fun when I was in the mindset of the fear of stepping into agreement, but the fun was to step into and overcome, because on the other side of that fear, to step into that moment when you're not sure, the uncertainty, or what if the other person is lockstep with you, which they were, but not really sure where this was all going. So it's the combination. It's the ability to step into your self-mastery, to confront truth. And that's when that happened, it created an incredible amount of fun, laughter, and we were all, just realizing the moment and how special it was, not just for the person who extended the agreement, but for all of which, for everyone that was on the call, the person that was saying yes, you and myself.
Yeah, 100%. And for everyone out there, can we think of a time where we formulated an agreement or an agreement got formulated to us and it was fun and we enjoyed it? Like maybe I can think of many. Like for you, let's think for a moment. Have you ever had an agreement formation formed where you were the one, not the one forming the agreement, you were the one getting the agreement formed on, and it was fun? And you're like, I can't wait for this to happen. I can't wait for this to start. Like, think about that moment. Think about that moment. And the truth is that it's possible. It's not only possible, it's possible because we have a formula that we've committed to. And, not to get deep into training, I want to keep it light. Sean's going to be jumping on in just a few moments. And I'm not going to say whispers in the distance, as Jay has now coined that term. So I need to hear something else. I hear, let's call it rustles in the rocks. We're going to go with that one. Mr. Callaghy, you out there? So as we give him a few moments to come in, let's think of that moment. Let's think of that moment. Let's think of a moment where we were in agreement formation and it was fun, where we were investing in something and it was fun. Our home, our car, piece of clothing, anything, where we formulated an agreement and it was fun for us. Imagine a world where we had the superpower to give that feeling of agreement formation and fun to other people. Yeah, it's called integrity-based human influence. And it's real. It's real. Just take this movement. We've all committed. I've committed. Adam committed. Sean's committed. We've committed. And it's been a lot of fun.
I committed to nothing. I'm leaving.
No. Yeah. No.
So,
what's up, man?
What's up? So I'm going to go on vacation for 6 months. I've decided. I'm making the announcement. Today, Adam Ferrando.
All right. Here's a serious question. Where to?
To destinations unknown. So.
Ooh, very mysterious of you.
Yes. So where are we this morning, gentlemen? Good morning to everybody and happy Fun Friday. How is everybody doing?
Good. We were keeping it light, talking about fun, talking about attaching fun to agreement formation, talking about moments where someone's formed an agreement with us individually, and it was fun. And that's where we were. We were chatting a little bit with AG. Then you got here, and we're kicking it to you.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. And if you're on the end of the mastery call last night, I just want to lean in on this. It got a little far afield with a couple comments that were made by one of our brethren who I love very much. But I know it was like an for Adam and for people and for me even a little bit, but I did laugh. So let's lean into fun, and I'll bring Nicole up as well this morning around boundaries, and realize that one of the challenges with humor and fun is where the boundary line is drawn, and that there's all sorts of different complexities around sensitivity of words, of language, of dynamics, and there is no easy answer. But there's definitely places at the outer perimeter, because if you say there's no end, then the Supreme Court of the United States has said about pornography, what pornography is, we will know it when we see it, right? And that's the Supreme Court, the most intelligent, highest level people, allegedly, theoretically, coming up with their best definition. So in terms of humor and boundaries, it's for everybody, it's the edge is we'll know it when we see it and feel it. And the hard part is that everybody has a slightly different, edge and space on that. And I think when you're conducting, this is like a training, we're in training mode now, right? So when you're on the edges one-on-one with people and people can experience you, you can kind of pull back from a moment that goes maybe a hair too far. It's harder in a group dynamic, and it gets more complicated. So I want to lean into heart, and presence too. We're not going to continue to stretch the edges of things further and further. I just want that present. That is not the intention at all. and we were exploring the edges of fun, it got a little bit, probably past the point that I would have been comfortable with. I'm certainly sure that Adam would have been comfortable with. And I want everybody to be comfortable that like, we're not going to go, 'cause some people have raised the question of like, what's our culture? How accessible are we then, to children, other people? And my desire is that this is everywhere in schools and for everybody. But there's probably also pockets of what this will be with certain people and groupings that might be operating in a little bit of a different energy and space. And I think last night, George brought up a very valid point that sometimes with his clients, stepping into a certain type of language and energy resonates and connects, and it builds rapport, and it like fills people differently emotionally. And maybe there's a different way to do it. You're right. But I think the point I would love to anchor on about fun and about all things is when we focus on our disagreements on the edges, that's what creates division. If we could focus on the core, is that we want to use fun to connect. We want to use fun to love. We want to use fun to inspire. We want to use fun to create. We want to use fun to make the world a more magical and a greater place. And sometimes we're going to step on the edges. And for some people, it's going to resonate hard, right? I'm a Christian. I listen to people make fun of Christianity all the time. Last election, I voted for Donald Trump, and I did in this one as well. And I didn't because I agree with his communication. I didn't because I agree with loads of things about his perspective. I did because I agree with his economic policy, his tax policy. I believe in certain things about the security of our nation. And I think that there are certain things that are concerning about the globalization and loss of a nation that I think that other people in the political spectrum and people that others have cited feel that the cessation of nations and one global world is better. That makes me really scared because I think one person could take over the planet and enslave everyone. That's my thought process. Nobody gave it to me, right? I believe that. So anybody that I think is potentially connected to the end of America as we know it, right, is concerning to me, right? So when I hear people and my children think that, and they love people and they want to save lions and they want to save animals. So my point is, when I hear people equating the comment, my son had a Make America Great Again hat, and he loves all people. And he has best friends that are people of color. And he loves people of every religion and ethnic background. And his desire is to make the world a greater place. So when I hear people equate wearing a Make America Great Again hat, which for some people might mean this, with racism, hatred, bias, it hurts my heart a lot. I see my son, I see my daughters who couldn't be more loving, couldn't be more kind, compassionate, and considerate, who go into like my, daughter's gone to old age homes and sat with people who are dying. Like their empathy knows no bounds. If anything, they have caretaking codependent tendencies, right, at the highest levels. Point. My dad says stuff like that, right? When my dad went in the hospital for corona, he said to my mom, if you weren't watching Fox News all the time, you'd realize why I have corona. And essentially, it's because of the guy that you voted for president. Like, this is going on in my family. And I wasn't mad or judging. My heart ached because it all just cries for help. So when we hit the edges, and all I talk to my dad about all the time is dad, right? Like, this isn't a docudrama. I don't love Donald Trump. I don't love Fox News. We have two shitty candidates to choose from. This is a bad problem. And what I'm doing with Unblinded is to make sure in the next election, this doesn't happen again. This is a really screwed up bad time. And I'm trying to fix it, but we're not fixing it by being indoctrinated into lies about reality. So my point, we are the microcosm. So if George, the cursing attorney, drops an F-bomb on occasion, right? I'm not going to like outlaw people from like speaking. And if it gets like edgier, like consistently, and there was an edge that got hit last night that I laughed because it was so irreverent, and I don't use that word, and you know, it was used as a double entendre, you know, but at the edges, you know, things are going to happen, and when we get near edges, sometimes I laugh. Sometimes I laugh nervously. Sometimes I laugh, you know, because I enjoy the concept of people pushing boundaries. It's what I did when I quit my job, you know, and started my law firm. It's what we did when we created Unblinded. Like, I appreciate when people step into the gap in a space courageously. I can honor that even if I don't agree with the how it's done, right? So part of some of the dynamics I was referring to is if somebody wants to take on an establishment dynamic and disrupt it, right? I can honor that and get behind that because I think that we need disruption in our political system. The way it was manifesting, the rhetoric of division that came from Donald Trump's mouth was a problem, right? But when you got two people to choose from, it gets really complicated. So that's why I think it'll be really fun if we had a third, fourth, or fifth party. So just so we can go all the way here for today and then drop back into fun energy, what I talk about my son with is that the American two-party political system is a problem. And we need legitimate third, fourth, and fifth parties so people have actual choice. And if we could align, like my outcome is that we can align around that and not be framed into Democrats and Republicans left and right. Like I want to break that frame. You know, that's one of my heart's outcomes is to break that frame so we have legitimate choices and we can not be pigeonholed into my daughter having to choose between saving animals and the environment or financial policies that make sense, right? Like that's a bad choice. I don't want my kids and grandkids to have to make that choice. I want them to be able to choose animals and financial policy, right? So that's where I sit on these things. And I think it's a perfect microcosm of fun energy. And if we can't laugh at it, like if you can't laugh, if you like Donald Trump, you can't laugh about him. And if you like Joe Biden and can't laugh about him, if you can't laugh at, if you can make fun of Donald Trump and not laugh at Nancy Pelosi, you're nuts. And if you like if you like Donald Trump and can't laugh at Nancy Pelosi, you're nuts also. Like these are crazy people. These are people who have the worst rapport skills, the most significance issues, are so suboptimal and integrous human influence. It is absolutely shocking to the conscience. And if we as a core can't laugh about some of these things, then I think we're not going to ever create the solutions. You know, and if we only pick one side of a thing to laugh at, then I think we have challenges. And when we start, you know, I'm going blind, you know, obviously, completely, but I've lost my legal sight. I can't read. I can't drive a car. I walk into telephone poles. I can't see anything on the screen. I can't see anything that's in front of me. And if I keep swiveling my head and people are like, hey, I had two people at the Tony Robbins event ask me, could I just ask you a question? Why don't you look at me? I'm like, I'm blind. Like, oh my God, I didn't know. You know, like, and if we can't laugh about it and we're like, and I'm not judging you if you can't, I'm coaching. But if we can't laugh about these things, then I think we have a challenge. I really do. Because it's when we get so absorbed in how seriously we take everything that it goes completely nuts, right? It goes like we're crazy. So I want to bring Nicole up to that point in a sec. But Adam, thoughts, comments?
You had me laughing for sure just now in regard to the low level of mastery that all politicians have compared to, I think, the level of mastery that our mastery students have, and everybody around us. So that was dying there. And I listen, um, everything you said, I validate. I think that there are, you know, for sure boundaries, and we have to think about what you've described as well. Like, you know, whether it's leaders, executives, or how those pockets, or how we have, you know, certain agreements in place and boundaries in place. But overall, I agree with everything you just said.
And what I would say, Adam, and everybody, is like, we're going to step over lines at times of all sorts. You know, one person who's blind might go, you shouldn't even say somebody is blind. I disagree, and that's not changing. And if you don't like it, don't hate me. Don't make it wrong. It just make me and us not your like favorite show and thing. But does that mean the whole formula and everything goes out the window? Like, like that's what I'm talking about. Like what, or if, you know, at one point I go, you know, I'm talking like 12, 14 hours a day recorded. You know, if one day I'm like, you know, I was going to kill that guy. And somebody's like, how dare you? That's violence and upsetting. And somebody, you know, like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm talking 14 hours a day. I'm in flow. I'm having fun. Like I'm not teaching. I'm not writing the 10 commandments and every word coming out of my mouth, and neither are you. You know, like it is the spirit and energy of the thing. You know, and if we're looking to make things, and this isn't happening, nothing happened. This is the only thing that happened is Adam and I, like we touched on this conversation this morning, and I wanted to honor Adam. So nobody's complaining, nothing bad happened, right? But it's speaking into this entire galaxy. And when you're being funny and having fun, sometimes you're going to piss people off. But if we try to not be funny and be fun, there is no unblinded movement. If we're not funny and having fun, there's no movement. Because in this day and age, if you don't entertain people, nobody's staying. That's just the truth. So if you want to build you and build your ecosystem value, you're going to have a really hard time if you're not entertaining. Unless you become a spiritual guru leader, you know, right? And you just like, or meditating and lighting incense. I'm not kidding. Like people will accept not fun if you become a spiritual leader. I am not a spiritual leader. You know, I believe in the spirit of people. I believe in God. I believe in a lot of things, but this is not a church. So if you want to create a church, a mosque, a temple, you know, you want to be Master Co, God bless him, wonderful man, like then maybe you can build a following and not be entertaining and fun. But even Master Co is kind of funny, right? Actually, it's quite funny. So even he's funny. Joel Osteen is funny. Like we're in a world where if you're not entertaining and funny, it's going to be really hard for you to build an ecosystem and a platform. So, Nicole, we got Nicole live or no? Adam Fernando.
Good morning.
Hey,
Happy Fun Friday.
happy fun.
Bitches.
Yes. Like,
Oh, perfect.
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 That was for Adam.
God, that
Nicole
was so good.
Nicole could say anything she wants in the world, and I would still smile.
So, it is very funny, and we live in a world, Nicole, where I think sometimes people, you know, you were there, right? And there's been times when Rob Gill and I have laughed, like, you know, Rob Gill says funny and ridiculous things, and he talks about growing up in crazy environments, and he talks about fedora hats and fish tank heels, and anybody could read 7 levels innuendo into anything. And there's times I laugh and I'm like, oh my God, is somebody gonna like make up a story if I'm laughing? You know, and so you have a fairly irreverent sense of humor, Nicole, and you bring that fun energy. Like, what's your approach to this stuff? And what do you honestly think on your heart about humor, fun, boundaries, lines? Like, how does that operate and show up for you? Because you are fun. Like, for those that don't know, Nicole is now the chief of staff. I don't know if Adam Fernando know that we've amended it from executive assistant, chief of staff of Fun and Magic, right? And so Nicole created the Christmas and holiday party with abominable snowmen, little elves. It's snowing inside. like bagpiping music, giant screens, many of you were there, 700 people, live reindeer, mechanical reindeer, you know, walking tables with drinks on them, you know, piano shooting, smoke and fire, bands, DJs, and I probably missed 15 other things. So I know, Nicole, what's on your heart and mind about all this? Just rip it open and share what you believe and where you are.
One of my favorite things about you and Rob Gill together, you know, is that you guys, it's just so real. And I think fun should be present every single day in everything we do, because if we're not having fun, we lose the magic of it. And if you're not enjoying the journey along the way of what your dream and your outcome is, I think it all gets lost, really. So
Yeah. And
fun is definitely one of my favorite things.
And you are that. And I think in a lot of ways, like, so this is, you know, we're not completing, but we're continuing the fun energy opens listening conversation, right? And the fun energy opens listening conversation, you know, I think a lot of people, you know, there's endless stories of, you know, religious leaders, people who are one way front facing and a different way off camera. And we are just real. Like, this is exactly what it is. And I think hopefully that whatever that means, it means, but it certainly means you're not getting two different things. We did like a live leadership confront on the call last night. And I think a lot of times, like, you know, you'll hear a politician speak about a thing and you'll hear left or right, right? And then they'll be confronted with something and they'll like deny that it happened. They never go, yeah, listen, sometimes at home I talk a little bit differently, right? And if I talk that way publicly, it make everybody crazy. But of course I talk that way at home, you know? Or like when Barack Obama has the forward written, acknowledges in the forward of his book, two people that are communists that taught at Columbia, like communists. And people are like, wow, that's like interesting, Mr. Obama. Like, that's not debated, by the way. Like, that's not debated. Like, there's facts. And then you go, wow, is Barack Obama a communist? Like, how dare you say that? Like, if somebody wrote the forward to my book who's a communist, people would bring up the question. When you hear Donald Trump on an audio using the P word and talking disgustingly about women, I think it's a legitimate question. It's not like, everybody talks that way. I never spoke that way. Like, and that's not how men talk in locker rooms, not the locker rooms I was in. So like it's legitimate, the question of like, do we want our president having spoken that way? Now, I think the irony is, right, we got to ask the question of the other candidate and how they speak behind closed doors and be honest about it before we start stepping on our high horse. I use the F word. Like, yes, I do. And sometimes I'm like, Michael, what the F are we doing? I do talk that way. I think a lot of people talk that way, right? And whatever it means, it means. And we just have to, and Tyler, my son, who Adam is like, oh boy, here he goes. So I love you, Adam. And so Tyler and I yesterday, because I had a great coaching call with somebody who said, essentially, you got to do something, Sean. Like, the world is falling apart. There's craziness happening. Like, I think there's, you know, voter fraud. Why aren't you doing something for truth? They didn't say it quite that directly, but level 5 listening. So I called up my son. I said, son, I said, and by the way, I had somebody in the Tony Robbins world offer my firm $100,000 retainer to get involved in the recount and the examination of voter fraud. And I didn't take them up on it. I didn't even schedule the meeting. And, you know, because I don't care who won. If that stuff's going on and I feel like I could have an impact, I want to know. So I had Tyler yesterday. I said, Tyler, I want you to look at everything. I want you to read the papers. I want you to look at everything. Because Tyler has the most analytical, neutral mind imaginable. He is a laser beam for truth. And he laughs a lot, including at himself, right? But he's a laser beam for truth. I said, I want to know what facts and evidence exist right now, not what Rudy Giuliani is saying, not what somebody else is saying. I wanted to know the facts. Go tell me how many affidavits exist, what they say, how many votes that could consist of, what was fundamentally undermined, ... And I'll just give you an update so we don't avoid the uncomfortable. So far, my son's research turns up, essentially, it's laughable. And that's not the answer I want to hear, because I'm a little bit nervous about Joe Biden being president. But so far, and if anybody has better information, they can send me. And I don't mean an innuendo. Like, I mean, like Mary Smith signed an affidavit that said this machine did this and that did this, and the postal workers did that. He looked at the legal papers, and the legal papers have like no facts. And he went to look for truth. And my point in leaning this deeply into the uncomfortable, which I'm sure is charged, I probably charged every single person on this phone in some way this morning, and I'm clear on that, is we're here to search for truth. And if we can't sit in the space of like truth and analysis, then we're never going to make the world a greater place. We're just kidding ourselves. And that's what I stand for. And so regardless of what I would hope an outcome would be, I want truth. Do you? And do you? Like, and if we are aligned on that, then we are on our way. And the truth is that sometimes when we're having fun and laughing, sometimes you're not going to find it funny. My mom doesn't think I'm funny, and I don't think my mom is funny. And a lot of people think I'm funny, and a lot of people think my mom is funny. But we don't think one another are funny. I don't love her sense of humor. She doesn't love mine. It's totally cool. And you know what? When I show Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, it brings up childhood memories, and their slapstick kind of like jive is going on. There's some people like, this is so boring. Like, what is this? This is horrible. I think it's funny. George's irreverence, right? Some of Nicole's irreverence, you may find funny or not, right? But that's not the question. Is, does it cause like misalignment to occur? And obviously, if like consistently we're moving into a space where there's like F-bombs flying everywhere and there's sexuality conversations, like we've stared like way clearer sexuality conversations, like innuendo hit the space last night, or sexual, not sexuality, sexual type, energies. I stay wide and away from that. I do. That's my sensitivity, but maybe it's not yours, so let's align on intention. And let's give one another the benefit of the doubt. Like, let's align on intention and let's give one another the benefit of the doubt and pursue love, fun, magic, and truth. Like utility, like most optimal functioning. So, Nicole, your voice in the space of fun, your trainings need to be understood. You want to learn how to be fun? Like, watch Nicole. There's a lot of fun energy there. There's great humor, great wit. And I don't know, Nicole, what advice or thoughts would you give to people who get a little bit, twisted up and a little bit nervous and uncomfortable about fun? Like, how do you step into fun and free yourself in that space? Like, or what say you about it? Like, final on all this?
Just be real and enjoy it. Enjoy every day. Don't think so much about it. Be in your heart and not your head, and enjoy every moment. So.
Well, and I thank you, and the energy that you feed into this movement, the fun. If we didn't have fun doing what we're doing, there'd be no energy. Like, fun fuels energy. Fun fuels energy. And people are going to be drawn to you as you step into fun. And let's have an open space around like what that fun energy looks like. But before we get, to me, this is my 2 cents. Before we get really twisted up about the boundaries around it, let's free up some more of it. Like, let's free up some more of your fun, and let's free up some more of our pursuit of truth, and let's free up some more love before we get all crazy about the boundaries and making people wrong around it. Nicole, sound like a good plan?
Game on.
Sean, I want to just first thank you for this, and I want to say that I agree with all of what you've described around truth, for sure, around fun. And the intent is never in this group, and the everybody here. I mean, the intent, I think we've talked about. There's not one weak link when it comes to heart-centered purpose, mission, and everything we're up to. It's the only time I would think would be somebody who is new and somebody who may not understand all of the intentions in this call today, that may experience something that and that could be a great person for what we're up to and the world we're trying to change. So that to me would be the one thing that I would say. But other than that, I can't agree more with every message, everything that you said today. So,
and there's no perfect science to it. There's a balance as you lead. This is not about us. It's about you and how you're going to function in your speaking platforms and how you're going to go forward. Everybody's got a little different, it's like, no, it should be like 2 pinches of like spice. It should be 3 pinches of salt. Like there's all these things around the outside, and we're very conditioned to want to like drive it towards what we see. And it's not like the way we want it. We want to change it. Like if you listen to like Bruce Springsteen feedback now from his fans, they like critique every order of every song, everything. And like, I look at that and I'm a huge Bruce fan. I go and all I want to do is experience it. I want to feel the magic. I don't even want to think about what I think the next song should be. I don't want to judge it. I want to experience it and step into it. I want to feel the energy, feel the magic, because the outcome is to have a magical night. It's not to critique Bruce Springsteen. When I go to a Tony event, a lot of people are like, oh, I didn't like this, I didn't like that. Like that was too sad. Like I go and I'm there to accelerate. I am there to accelerate. I'm there to vertically innovate. I'm there to drive forward relationships. I'm there for infusions of energy. And so I'm not there to be like, I think that, when that person comes on, if they I'm not there for that, and so know our outcome. Like our outcome here is more money in less time with more magic. Leaders leading leaders to merge ecosystems to make the world an even greater place. And we go, well, I think this has got to be like this to make that happen. Okay. But are we in the spirit of driving this thing forward right now? Because we're in our infancy. We're in our infancy. And we're picking up at massive speed. And as we pick up at massive speed, it's very easy to lose that momentum. And so let's not lose the momentum. And you go, well, we've got to be very intentional, be very careful. Well, we weren't careful to get here. You know what I mean? And like, if you change how you got here going forward, then you become something different. And the reality is, I don't think I'm ever going to be careful. I've never been careful, and the moment that this becomes that, maybe it does someday, is the moment I probably shouldn't be the person on the microphone anymore. And that day will come, and there's lots of microphones, but there'll probably always be a huddle. There'll probably be hundreds of huddles, but there'll probably be one main huddle. And at some point it'll be a different person on the microphone when we become something different. And maybe I think I'm here to disrupt, create liftoff, get stuff going. And then eventually there'll be somebody who's probably a little more careful. That'll be the right voice, right? And I'll be surfing, or I'll be taking the most nutty, crazy group of disruptors and we'll be in like a cave somewhere, and I'll be having fun and I'll be making good things happen for this movement. But for now, we're going to be disruptive, like in the mainstream core of this, because that's the only way we're going to pick up momentum and accelerate. Fernando, final.
There's a lot here. Thank you for always doing what you do. And you are also a laser beam for truth. So I'm not confused on where Tyler gets it from. And I think we're going to have a lot of fun adventures in caves and islands and mountains. And I'm all about having fun. Your challenge to me was to be as ridiculous as possible this week. And I have leaned in. I've said the word commando. I have done ridiculous things. And, reactions are pleasant. So I'm all about, being conscious, as Adam is so incredibly in tuned with what everyone around him is thinking. And at the same time, fringes are going to be hit. And as long as intentions are good, and we all know yours are, man, your intentions are pure as they can come.
And I didn't do it last night.
Now, the funniest thing about Sean is that when things hit the fringes, he gets so red. It's one of my favorite things to like look at, because your version of shy is hilarious. And it's all fun and healthy. So thank you for that, Sean. Back to you.
Yeah. So just in fun energy, how much did you know in that moment that like Adam was going to be freaking out?
I called, we spoke right away. Right away. It was like instantaneous. I was like, uh-oh. Yeah. Hey, listen, I was a little uncomfortable myself. I knew.
I was uncomfortable. I was turning purple.
You were turning purple. But yes, Adam Gugino was like absolutely instant.
So Adam, could we at least go with, I didn't do it? Because I'm feeling my inner child talking to the teacher. So we do know I didn't do it.
I'm just so, listen, Sean, just the fact that you could call me the teacher in this moment. I am not perfect. I make a million mistakes in life, in my past. And I am, your heart, your truth is, there's no one I trust more. It was absolutely not you. And I am so grateful to be here and doing this with you. So yes.
So my final fun energy is at 50 years old, in a space of financial freedom, building this entire thing. My inner little child still wanted Adam to say to me that I didn't do it. And that is fun because we were just all ridiculous. And if we cannot laugh at ourselves, that like I felt the need of, I didn't do it. I didn't do it. Like, isn't that fun? And isn't it ridiculous? Because life is just all a story. And let's just have fun in it. Love you guys. Happy Fun Friday. Nicole, amazing job. Adam, Fernando, everybody, thank you. Love you. George, love you.